I've been saying there's going to be a civil war in Philly over this, Pennsylvania versus Folistan for quite some time. But I thought that would be
Folistan. Did you come up with that?
I do these things.
I'm impressed. That's good.
I thought it would be limited to the fan base, and it would be natural. It would be natural for the fan base to be divided between Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. But what's clear is it's also within the building. I believe these reports, 6, yes, I admit, anonymous sources, and now Seth Joyner saying where there's smoke, there's fire. But here is why they should consider keeping Foles and trading Wentz. It's not a matter of who's simply the better quarterback. Don't play that game with me, Stephen A. Don't roll your eyes and don't come back at me with that rebuttal. It's not who's better, Wentz or Foles, because I will submit to you the answer is Wentz. But that's not the calculus in a silo. It is this. Would you rather have Nick Foles, where the projection has been set aside, you can win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and what? 2 first-round picks? What would you get if you traded Carson Wentz? We've never seen a quarterback, a starting quarterback, with this much upside, this much hype, this much projection traded.
If Amari Cooper's 1 first-round pick, yeah,
wouldn't you think
2.
Carson Wentz would be worth 2? So would you rather have Nick Foles and, let's say, 2 first-round picks, or Carson Wentz? Because you got to let Nick Foles walk for nothing. He gets out for free. So that is the legit debate you have. That's the balancing act. That's the business proposal. Right. And that's why I say it's only good business to consider what the market would be for keeping Foles and trading Wentz.
Just when I thought I would get a reprieve from the nonsensical drivel of Max Kellerman, Max Kellerman's twin brother shows up. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm not buying that by any stretch of the imagination. You don't get to change the narrative. Of course, if you could get a couple of first-round picks, we have to consider that.
Well,
when we're asking the question about Nick Foles against Carson Wentz, we're basically talking about 2 talented quarterbacks who you want to roll with. That's what we're talking about. That's really what we're talking about.
It isn't all we're talking about.
Because listen, if that's the case, then all my arguments about Antonio Brown go out the window. In other words, with the Steelers, keep Antonio Brown. That's what in my position, right? But if somebody sat up there and said, we'll give you 3 first-round picks for him, suddenly I might change my damn mind.
Hold on, can I just ask you a quick question? You've been saying keep Antonio Brown and what?
Yes.
And trade Ben?
No, not at all. I'm saying make them work it out.
He's
under contract. Don't give a damn about his feelings. Antonio Brown, forget the fact that I'm a Steelers fan. That brother's a bad wide receiver.
Yeah.
But
One
you
of the greatest in the game.
What people are worth.
So what I'm saying to you is this. I understand that, but I'm saying from a business perspective, we all understand and we're all in agreement. When you can stockpile first-round picks for somebody, you can't ignore the value of that. I'm looking at Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, and I'm telling you Nick Foles is not better than Carson Wentz.
And I'm not debating you on that.
And I'm saying to you that Nick Foles, the only reason why this is a discussion is because Carson Wentz keeps getting hurt. That is it.
And is that not part of the calculus as well?
That is, fair enough. But what I'm saying to you is the reason why I don't even consider that is because now it's an opportunity for these guys to talk about how selfish he is. He's not the leader y'all think he is. He's this, he's that. See, that's my problem with what the Eagles are doing. If the Eagles sat up there, collectively speaking, if they sat up there and look, man, Carson Wentz won us the Super Bowl, and he ain't the guy that keeps getting hurt. It's Carson Wentz. And if I want to trust my future, I'm gonna roll with Nick Foles instead of Carson. I got that. They have used this as an opportunity to sully the name of Carson Wentz. And I'm like, oh, so now you're going to a different level and acting like this brother has lesser value than Nick Foles. I think those people are smoking something. You got to be crazy. From a talent perspective and beyond, I'm rolling with Carson Wentz. If it ain't injuries that we talking about here, Carson Wentz is in a different class than Nick Foles. That's my point.
Listen, here's the bottom line. Is Carson Wentz more talented than Nick Foles? Absolutely.
We all agree.
We all agree on that. But I always sit here and say on the show, the best of ability is availability. And if we're going to take availability into this, which is a big part of the equation here, because as talented as Carson Wentz is, to me, Carson Wentz is probably a top 5 quarterback when he's healthy and when he's right. But if he's not on the field, what good is he? What good is he? We done seen past couple years where Carson Wentz haven't been able
Also in college.
The most critical points in the year, late in the year, we haven't even seen Carson Wentz, okay? So if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you're sitting back and we got Nick Foles here who's won us a Super Bowl, who's played his tail off and has some type of synergy with Doug Peterson as his play caller, You don't consider that?
Absolutely.
You don't consider that, Stephen A? You don't consider that keeping Carson Wentz is rolling the dice? You don't think that's the case?
It's undeniable that it's rolling the dice, but I ask y'all this question in all sincerity, particularly you, Damien. Carson Wentz had the ACL injury, right? Then he had the fibula, the broken fibula issue here. How did he acquire those injuries? I believe it was pretty much running the football for the most part. I know
that's part of his game.
Listen, that's part of his game, or is it part of a game that Doug Peterson has asked him to implement into the scheme of things, as opposed to what he asked of Nick Foles? Wait a minute, hold on.
I think hold on. That injury that Carson Wentz got, I think it was against the Los Angeles Rams.
No, the Rams was the leg injury. I don't know where the fibula
that was it. No, I'm talking about the ACL. That was him being Carson Wentz running around.
I know what's happening. You want Chip Kelly back?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. All I'm saying is this in all seriousness. We look at Doug Peterson, Coach Nick Foles. We look at it with Carson Wentz. Nick Foles spreads the ball more judiciously. Carson Wentz has Zach Ertz as a favorite target. We've talked about this. We've lamented it. We've also talked about how Carson Wentz does improvise from time to time. It's also been encouraged by Doug Peterson. I don't know whether that's true or not. What I am asking, and it's a question, I am asking, is it possible that Carson Wentz could do exactly what Nick Foles could do if that's what he was asked of? But because Peterson knows, we know what talent Carson Wentz is, he's asked to do more.
I've asked you that before. Do you think that Doug Peterson calls a different game for Carson Wentz?
And I told you yes. And I said yes.